So we're reading from Canto 6, Chapter 17. Mother Parvati, Curses to Chiketu, text number 31. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhaktim Udvahatam Niranam Jnana Vairagya Viryanam Na Hi Kaschid Vayapashraya Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhaktim Udvatam Niranam Jnana Vairagya Viryanam Nahi Kaschid Vayapshraya Vasudevi Bhagavate Bhaktim Udvatam Niranam Jnana Vairagya Viryanam Nahi Kaschid Vayapashraya Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhaktim Udvatam Niranam Jnana Vairagya Viryanam Nahi Kaschid Vayapshraya Vasudevi Bhagavati Jnana Vairagya Viryanam Nahi Kaschid Vayapshraya Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhaktim Udvatam Niranam Jnana Vairagya Viryanam Nahi Kaschid Vayapshraya. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhaktim Udvatam Niranam Jnana Vairagya Viryanam Nahi Kaschid Vayapshraya Bhaktim Udvatam Niranam Jnana Vairagya Viryanam Nahi Kaschid Vayapshraya Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhaktim Udvatam Niranam Jnana Vairagya Viryanam Nahi Kaschid Vayapshraya. Vasudevi, unto Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, Bhagavati, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhaktim, love and faith in devotional service, Udvahatam, for those who are carrying, Niranam, men, Jnana Vairagya, of real knowledge and detachment, Viryanam, possessing the powerful strength, Na, not, he, indeed, Kaschit, anything, Vayapashraya, as interest or shelter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace of Jananivas Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Persons engaged in devotional service to Lord Vasudeva Krishna have naturally perfect knowledge and detachment from this material world. Therefore, such devotees are not interested in so-called happiness or the so-called distress of this world. Please repeat. Persons engaged in devotional service to Lord Vasudeva Krishna have naturally perfect knowledge and detachment from this material world. Therefore, such devotees are not interested in the so-called happiness or the so-called distresses of this world. Purport. Here is the distinction between a devotee and a philosopher who speculates on the subject matter of transcendence. A devotee does not need to cultivate knowledge to understand the falsity or temporary existence of the material world. Because of his unalloyed devotion to Vasudeva, this knowledge and detachment are automatically manifested in his person. As confirmed elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.7, Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jana Yati Ashu Vayagram Jnanam Chaha Ahutikam. One who engages in unalloyed devotional service to Vasudeva Krishna automatically becomes aware of this material world, and therefore he is naturally detached. This detachment is possible because of his highest standard of knowledge. The speculative philosopher tries to understand that this material world is false by cultivating knowledge. But this understanding is automatically manifested in the person of a devotee without separate endeavor. The Mayavada philosophers may be very proud of their so-called knowledge, but because they do not understand Vasudeva Sarvam Iti, they do not understand the world of duality, which is a manifestation of Vasudeva's external energy. Therefore, unless the so-called Jnanis take shelter of Vasudeva, their speculative knowledge is imperfect. Yeni arvindaksha vimukta manina. They simply think of becoming free from the contamination of the material world. But because they do not take shelter at the lotus feet of Vasudeva, their knowledge is impure. When they actually become pure, they surrender to the lotus feet of Vasudeva. Therefore, the absolute truth is easier to understand for a devotee than the Jnanis who simply speculate to understand Vasudeva. Lord Shiva confirms this statement in the following verse. Om Agyantimirandasya Jananjanan Shalakaya Chakshudramanitanjinatas Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadha Shiva Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here, the glories of devotional service are being expounded by Lord Shiva to Parvati's Mahajana. Persons who engage in devotional service to Lord Vasudeva Krishna have naturally perfect knowledge and detachment from the material world. And therefore, such devotees are not interested in so-called happiness or the so-called distress of this material world. So-called happiness means you're trying to enjoy the material world, and the so-called distresses means you're trying to get out of the material world. But the devotee, he doesn't do any of these things. He doesn't try to enjoy the world. He doesn't try to get out of the world. He knows everything. He sees everything as it is. It's Krishna's energy. Because he understands Vasudeva, then he understands Krishna's external energy. So, this is the power and the potency of devotional service, bhakti yoga. And these glories are being revealed here by Lord Shiva, glorifying King Chitraketu's wonderful devotional service, and how he's become completely undisturbed, even in such a situation of being cursed to become a demon. It's a heavy curse. But he was just smiling and content because he had perfect understanding of everything. So Lord Brahma, when he was glorifying Krishna and the residents of Vrindavan, that here I see there is so much household paraphernalia, everything is here, but I see all this paraphernalia is being used in your service. So therefore and your homes are all decorated to receive Krishna and to worship Krishna. And therefore you have perfect detachment because you're seeing everything as belonging to being used in Krishna's service. Your detachment is perfect without endeavoring to become detached from the material world like the Jnanis or the yogis. And because you're always remembering Krishna at every moment, every second, every sentence, they mention Krishna's name. This is a symptom of your perfect knowledge. So they're not endeavoring separately to acquire knowledge, but simply by their remembering Krishna. This is an indication of perfect knowledge. What is the first rule and second rule of devotional service? Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So they're always remembering Krishna. So therefore they understood they know everything because they know Krishna. They don't have to separately endeavor for anything else. So this is the glory of devotional service, that it reveals everything else that has to be known, if it has to be known. So here it's saying that they're not interested in anything else. They're not interested in taking shelter elsewhere. Namely, we take our shelter in this world in friendship, society, and love. But we know with knowledge that it's temporary, this material world. Our shelters are temporary, so we don't want to take shelter in temporary shelters. We want that eternal shelter. That is Vasudeva, Krishna. Therefore, it's criticizing the Jnanis here. They fail to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Therefore, they will fall down again from their high position. So only devotional service is actually not within this world. All these other processes are actually within the world. They're created at the process of jnana, the process of vairagya, knowledge, detachment. They're all created in this world. They're all quite new. When this world is finished, they don't exist. All these processes don't exist anymore. Varnashram doesn't exist. The process of yoga, karma, jnana, they don't exist. Because there's nothing existing. The whole world's gone back into the body of Vishnu. So all these processes they're not existing anymore. But something is going on in the spiritual world beyond this material world, and that is Bhakti Yoga. So that's going on eternally in the Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world. Devotional service is going on eternally. So therefore, this is the eternal function of the soul. So why we would take shelter of newly invented temporary systems? So the devotee just situates himself, or he's situated automatically in his constitutional position by serving Krishna, and everything is actually revealed to him. So simply by performing devotional service. Jivaya Swarupaya Nitya Krishna Das. We are the eternal servants of Krishna. This is what is needed for the soul. So when you put the soul in that atmosphere of service, then he retains his natural constitutional nature as the servant of Krishna. So this is where we belong in the spiritual nature. So that spiritual nature is only achieved by devotional service, because everybody there is performing devotional service. So we are performing devotional service here, and as a result, we will perform devotional service there. Whatever your consciousness is fixed on, at the time of leaving your body, that state you will attain without fail, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So our consciousness is fixed on devotional service in Krishna. So where is our next destination? Certainly not in this material world, because nobody is serving Krishna, except a few places. So the destination is back to Godhead, where everybody is serving Krishna. So devotional service is not a part of this world. Bhagavad Gita, I mentioned before, the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, last verse, last sentence, last paragraph, Prabhupada says, this is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, last purport Prabhupada. That how the living entities have minute independence. Somehow or another they misuse that independence and they come into this material world. When they again use that independence properly to go back to Godhead, to serve Krishna, then again, Prabhupada said, again they go back and are situated in their constitutional position in the Haladini potency, in the pleasure-giving potency. They take on their original identity as servants of Krishna whose business is to expand Krishna's pleasure. So then when you have that attitude of expanding Krishna's pleasure, then that's the Haladini potency atmosphere. So from then we cultivate this understanding, how we can serve Krishna, how we can expand Krishna's pleasure. Then your next destination is, as Prabhupada said, in the Haladini potency, in the pleasure-giving potency. You join all the other devotees who have that same consciousness in serving Radha and Krishna, expanding their pleasure. So this is where Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is taking us. He finishes on this point. So this is the society that Srila Prabhupada is creating. He's giving facility for everyone to engage in devotional service. Who else is giving that facility? Who else is even telling you you are a servant of Krishna, a servant of all the religious groups? They want to become equal to God or enjoy the bliss of God, or no question of service practically. So Prabhupada is the only person who's giving service to Krishna, and this is the correct constitutional nature of the soul. So Prabhupada's given that facility by creating this society for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And therefore it surpasses everything else. Just like you go to the temple, first day you go to the temple, or you associate with devotees, first thing they tell you is, you Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You're not the body. You should do some seva. So this is the first thing that the devotee tells, right, when you meet devotees. Is Shambanda. They give you Shambanda. First meeting. Whereas Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada has mentioned in his purport, Bahunam Jamanananti, that after thousands and thousands of births of being a jnani, searching for truth, one comes to the position of understanding Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he surrenders to him. There's your sambandha. It's been achieved after thousands of births of being a jnani. You meet the ISKCON devotee, first day, he gives you sambandha. He says, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You're not the body, you're the soul, you're his eternal servant. So therefore, sambandha, first day. For the jnani, thousands and thousands of births. And Prabhupada said, in regard to this sloka that Krishna is speaking, after thousands and thousands of births of being a jnani, the person comes to the position Vasudeva Sarvamiti, and he surrenders to Krishna at that time. He's understood all. So Prabhupada said this is the conclusion of thousands and thousands of births of being a jnani, looking for truth, that you will come to this point of accepting Krishna as the Supreme Person of God. You'll surrender to Vasudeva. Now, Prabhupada said, I'm telling you this. If you hear me, and you surrender to Krishna now, then you skip those thousands and thousands of births. Because I'm telling you, Krishna is telling you the conclusion, the thousands and thousands. Now Prabhupada said that. If you hear me and you act on that, then you will skip thousands and thousands of births. So therefore the process of devotional service is not incomplete, it's complete. All the other processes are incomplete. And factually, they're all dependent on bhakti, all the other processes. Without bhakti, you don't get your results. As a karma, you won't get your results if there's no bhakti there. The jnani, you won't get your results. The yogi, you won't get your results. It has to be a little bit of bhakti. But bhakti itself, when you practice, is not dependent on the karma, it's not dependent on your yoga, it's not dependent on your jnana. It's independent. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also teaching, na dhanama, na janma, na sundrim. I don't want wealth, wife, women, fame, etc., followers. What does he want? I accept your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. So, just by the service, automatically everything will be achieved that everybody needs. So all the other processes, they're dependent on bhakti, just like jnana yoga, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. It's dependent on the perfection of jnana is you coming to the point of surrendering to Krishna. That is bhakti. So unless that bhakti is there, you cannot, you won't achieve the fulfillment of your jnana. And yoga, what does Krishna say about of all the yogis, he who abides in me with great faith, and he is the greatest of all devoted yogis. Again, devotion. He abides in Krishna. So the conclusion of yoga is devotion. It has to be devotion. Otherwise he can't get the yogi doesn't get his perfection. Karma yoga, yadasi, yadkroshi, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give away in charity, it should be done as an offering to me. What is that? Bhakti. You're offering everything to Krishna. So all these paths are actually dependent on bhakti, and if they don't add bhakti, they're going to be a long, long, long time continually following that path. But when they add bhakti, they get the results. But ultimately, they come to the point of a pure devotional service. And then they can give up all the other paths and simply take to the process of devotional service. So, jnanam automatically achieved here, and knowledge is also automatically achieved. Detachment is also automatically achieved. So knowledge knowledge is simply a tool to remove ignorance. Why we are studying, to remove the ignorance. We don't know who we are. So therefore we are studying. We gather knowledge to remove that ignorance. We want to come out of the darkness into the light. So just like Krishna is giving us instructions, sarvadhanam parityaja mamikam, knowledge. If you take to that knowledge, you can become free from all sins. Because it removes the ignorance. We are the eternal servants of Krishna. We've forgotten. We're trying to imitate Krishna. So Krishna says, sarvadhanam parityaja, you can surrender everything to me. Knowledge, it removes our ignorance. I'm the enjoyer, I'm the controller. So that knowledge is there to remove the ignorance. So there's two types of knowledge. One is knowledge that comes from Shatugun. You read the Three Modes of Material Nature chapter. From knowledge comes, from Shatugun comes happiness, knowledge, happiness. And there's also happiness that comes from bhakti. Knowledge that arises from bhakti is bhakti. So you've got two types of knowledge here, one coming from Shatugunas, one coming from bhakti. So one should renounce the first knowledge. He has to give up his knowledge from Shatugun with the help of knowledge coming from bhakti. Because bhakti is beyond Shatugun even. So Krishna is advising Arjuna, you have to give up the process of Gyan also. He's nothing but Gyan, Bhagavad Gita, he's teaching him. But at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, you should give up this process of Gyan. By the process of bhakti. Because Gyan is produced from the three modes of material nature. Bhakti is produced from bhakti, that's eternal. So one should give up the first knowledge by the second type of knowledge. Just like Ramananda Roy, when Mahaprabhu was speaking with Ramananda Roy and he mentioned this verse, Sarvadhanam Parityaja, what did Mahaprabhu say? You go further. Bhaya, this is external, you still go further. You say something more. We were thinking Sarvadhanam Parityaja, that's the finish, that's the end of everything. But Mahaprabhu said, go on, you can go more. It's just the beginning, actually, surrendering. So I heard Jayapataka Maharaj commenting one time on this verse. Someone asked him this question. Why Mahaprabhu said, go on further, tell more than Sarvadhanam Parityaja. This is how, we love that shloka, right, everybody? And he said, yes, he said, actually, it's a law of principle for persons who think that they possess something. I'm going to surrender everything to Krishna, but what do you have? So if you think you have something, okay, then I'll surrender everything to Krishna. But that's a law of principle. So that's Krishna's advice. You give up the process of Gyan and take the process of bhakti. So we have our sources of knowledge. We have our parampara, receiving this knowledge from parampara. So it's perfect knowledge. These are parampara, these are our guardian angels. We need guardians and angels. So they are giving this knowledge, descending knowledge, perfect knowledge about Krishna and Krishna's position and the position of Bhakti Yoga. It's just like the new temple, TOVP, we will have the whole parampara all to there. We'll be very complete. Radha Madhava, the Asashaki, Panchatattva, and the parampara, 15 of the parampara deities will be there in parampara altar. So it's such a complete picture. You're approaching the Guru parampara to Panchatattva, so you get the mercy of Panchatattva Guru, and then you can approach Radha and Krishna and Shakis. So it's very, very complete temple to TOVP will be exhibiting this. So so the thing is that you have everything there, and then you have seva. You have all these personalities. They're all there to guide us, to look after us. And all these personalities. Plus we have the process of devotional service, the whole process, how to approach them, how to serve, render devotional service. So everything becomes complete. So in the Krishna book, in the prayers of the personified Vedas, Srila Prabhupada, he says that devotional service means that one does not do anything independently of the sanction of the acharyas. The actions of the Krishna consciousness movement are directed by the previous acharyas, headed by Rupa Goswami. In the association of devotees, following these principles, a devotee is able to perfectly maintain his transcendental position. So here, Prabhupada is saying that the actions of the Krishna consciousness movement are being directed by the previous acharyas, Rupa Goswami, who appeared 500 years ago. We don't see him present now. But he says, Prabhupada is saying, he's directing the activities of the Krishna consciousness movement. So that means they're all very much fully aware of the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they're still here to guide. The parampara is there. We may not see it, but we can understand it's there in Prabhupada's statement that Rupa Goswami is directing the affairs of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So here he's pointing out all we have to do is to stick to following the sanction of the previous acharyas, understanding these principles And then you can become completely, perfectly situated also in your transcendental position. As the eternal servant of Krishna. So it's from this temple, Gauranga Nitya Seva Hoi Bipikash. What's so wonderful about the TOVP? Adbhut Mandiya. Adbhut means astonishing. What is astonishing? Most astonishing is that from this temple, service, eternal service to Gauranga was spread all over the world. That's Adbhut. The temple is Adbhut. You've got the chandelier and you've got the universe, the picture, the universal situation, which nobody knows about. So it's going to be very, very Adbhut, very astonishing. For more Adbhut is that when the Harinam goes all over the world, already it's going to Malecha Des and they're jumping up and down. It goes to the Pygmies and the Zulus and the Aborigines and they're all Hari Bol, Hari Krishna. That's Adbhut. It's the first time in history that the Vedic culture has gone practically outside of Bharatavarsha, and then the whole world is now chanting Hare Krishna. So that is very, very Adbhuta. TOVP ki jai. So, anyway, Prabhupada's talking about the Gyanis in this verse and how they, or some of them, how they think they're liberated. Abhashruti Buddhaya, yes. Their intelligence is not purified. They think they're liberated, but their intelligence is not purified. Why? Because they fail to accept the lotus feet of Krishna and Mukunda. So, we get 4 types of Gyanis, and one type he wants Sayuja Mukti, he wants to merge into the body of the Lord. By executing jnana, the process of jnana alone. But he can never achieve his result simply by jnana alone. He has to have some bhakti there, but he doesn't use bhakti at all. He just uses the process of jnana. And so as a result, he gets suffering for their fruit. And these people are condemned. The second type of jnani, he knows, if there's no bhakti, a little bit of bhakti should be there, otherwise we won't realize our Sayuja Mukti. So the other class of jnani, he uses a little bit of bhakti also. Then he gets the fruit of his result. He gets the result, the fruits of it. His jnana, it becomes liberated, jivan mukta. But the problem is, even though he rises up to the platform of liberation by jnana with a bit of bhakti, he thinks that the body of Vishnu is made of matter, is maya. His body is made of the 3 gunas. And therefore he's offensive to the Lord. And because in the path of jnana, when you attain your perfection, you think that not necessary anymore, the process, which is a fact. Elsewhere, Srimad Bhagavatam says that. One should adopt a means of self-realization, but also he should learn how to give up that means when he gets the fruit. So this jnani, he gets his fruit, and then he says, now it's not necessary. My sadhana for Sayuja, my Gyan sadhana, it's not necessary anymore. I've achieved my goal. I've become on the transcendental platform. Jivan Mukta, he is liberated there. So therefore I don't need jnana anymore. So he rejects the jnana. But unfortunately, he also rejects his bit of bhakti that was mixed with it. And then, because he's offensive by thinking the Lord has a material form made of the gunas, then that bhakti, he loses that bhakti, it goes away forever. So then he becomes again fallen. Because there's no, he threw away the bhakti. What did they throw away the baby with the bathwater? He threw away the bhakti with the gyan because he thought bhakti is also an activity. Activity means maya. And so, anyway, because of he disrespects the Lord, therefore he falls down from his position. So third type of bhakti, he understands that he should mix bhakti with his jnana for his liberation, and he understands that Vasudeva Sarvamiti, he understands that Vasudeva is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He understands that, but still he's interested in his jnana. So he doesn't disrespect the Lord. He merges into the body of the Lord, which is fantastic for a person conditioned in the material world. You get out of the material world, and that's fantastic from that angle of vision. As a jnani, so that's what he wants. Krishna fulfills everyone's desire. Whatever desire you have, Krishna will fulfill. So he knows the form of Krishna is there, but he wants to enjoy the bliss of being Brahman and merging it. So Krishna guarantees so he's good. So then you get another type, the fourth type of jnani, like Shukadeva Goswami, and when they heard the glories of devotional service, they just immerse themselves in the process of devotional service. So they are considered the most glorious, that those jnanis who come to that point of pure devotional service and just want devotional service to Krishna. So these are the pure devotees that are glorified of all the jnanis there. So so this is being pointed out here, the position of jnanis and devotees. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Go Premanandi. Thank you. Any comment, question? Thank you.
I wanted to ask, there's always some devotees, they don't pay any attention to the news. The news, like we have the media and then there's news, like there's news of what's going on around the world. And I've noticed that being around you, I noticed you never seem to spend much time worrying about what's, the news, like what's going on in Syria right now or whatever is going on in the world. And this verse says that the devotee is not interested in the happiness and distress of the material world. Can we be like that, like sort of like have our head in the sand and just not pay any attention to what's going on out there and just read Prabhupada's books and chant Hare Krishna and have that as our only thoughts and considerations, or do we?
Srila Prabhupada said that he said, I think he mentioned like the presidents and like that, who may have to know what's going on in the world. He said they can read the newspaper or something, just to keep up with what's going on. But otherwise, if you're, and this is part of your service, your service takes you to these different avenues, then we're interested in service. If the service, entails, knowing all the details of what goes on and what doesn't go on, then you do it. But if it's not involved in your service, then you just do your savor. Temple president generally has to know what all the devotees and what's going on in the temple, but it doesn't mean because I'm a devotee I have to know everything that goes on in the devotional world. And put your head in the sand or put your blinkers on, or whatever it is. But that you do your savor, whatever your savor brings you into, whatever contact your savor brings you into, you're meeting different people through savor. Then we relate on that. But it's not necessarily we have to run around knowing everyone or know everything that everybody did. You don't have to know. I don't know what the GVC said this year. Because they didn't advertise it. They used to advertise it. They used to have a program after Gaur Purnima, and the GVC would give a report, and though that much I knew. If the service requires, then you do it. It's part of the service, then you do it. If it doesn't require, why do it? You don't have to know what's going on. Some people like to know what's going on.